Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was an ancient Chinese philosopher and a writer. He was the founder of philosophical Taoism and a deity in religious Taoism and other traditional Chinese religions. Tao Te Ching is a guide to the philosophy of Taoism and was written by Lao Tzu and one of the famous classical Chinese texts. Taoism is a school of thought and method for survival in challenging times, and Tao Te Ching consists the teachings dealing with Tao, or roughly explained as the way, or the path one should follow, in order to avoid failure and attain success. It can be translated the Book of Immanence of the Way, or the Book of the Way and of how it manifests itself in the world, or simply the Book of the Way. As Lao Tzu noted that the idea, when you're trying too hard, amassing too many goods, too arrogant, war-mongering will lead to failure. Instead, if one is going to survive, one must be submissive, passive, and pacific. If one is simple, one will be content. The book begins with the meaning of Tao, a nameless origin of everything and actually not the eternal Tao. Gravity is a good illustration of Lao Tzu's impression of the Tao law of nature. It's an invisible force, commanding everything endlessly and seemingly without any effort. The workings of Tao are concealed behind what we can see. It is the way, how the universe works. On the other hand, it can be understood by observing what we see or feel, the manifestations. The manifestations become clear through observing them with delight by detaching ourselves from the world and empty our minds, and that's when we discover their unity. The unity of opposites make up the world. In one of Tzu's passages, when everyone in the world sees beauty, then ugly exists. The ugly is the mirror of beautiful. We should not call one good and the other bad, and one could not exist without the other. If we allow morals to influence our judgments, we are unable to be objective. Simplicity, patience, and compassion are the three pillars of Taoism philosophy. According to Lao Tzu, these three pillars are our greatest treasures, and through being simple, both in actions and in thoughts, can return us to the source of being. Being patient with our friends and enemy can award with the way things are, and being compassionate towards ourselves. Let us reconcile all beings in the world. Te, which means virtue, is one of the most important things highlighted in the book. Te is not an active force in the world, but it manifests as one of the basic forces of Tao. Accepting Tao means that we are virtuous in a cosmic sense. Lao Tzu says that virtue is one that occurs when we cease with our efforts by following the natural way through letting go of our own ambitions. It is referring to someone who lives according to the way. It is the ultimate virtue simply because it is Tao, the way it is and should be. For Lao Tzu, Tao describes the perfection hiding in the world that forms and leads it in the right way through the help of the Te, or the virtues we need to adopt to get there. In short, Te is the means by which we can live according to Tao. There are three kinds of people presented in the book: those who follow the Tao as sages, people retreated from this world and looking for the unity with Tao and spiritual perfection, and the noblemen who take part in the life of communities, and the rulers who are guided as to how to lead their lands in a favorable way. The sage, or Shenjin, is the ideal human being that lives virtuously and acts accordingly to Tao. According to Lao Tzu, the view that was loved by our modern world would be obscure. He further noted that the sage of the present would know to return to the ways of the sage of the past. The sages are unselfish. Tao noted that those who strive to get ahead are quickly fatigued and wear themselves down. Impatient and discontent are poison to the mind, therefore the body as well. The humble ones with modest demands are easily satisfied and therefore soon to be joyous. The unselfish one makes good deeds out of reflex, without thinking according to the way. Water is the example used by Tzu in the book, where it is one of the basic elements of nature that is existing in tremendous abundance. It is an important part of nature. Hence, it cannot do wrong. It shows what is natural. Society is obsessed with the eagerness to change. Tzu is wary of change, of interfering with the present state of things, and he sees the world as one of precious balance, meaning the action that is not carefully considered will tend to lead to an avalanche of undesirable effects before balance is restored. Wu Wei, or non-action, is another highlighted concept in the book. It is the central pillar of Taoist behavior. Most things in the world take care of themselves when left alone. That is why we should not hurry to act, and when we act, we should do it carefully to avoid destroying more than we solve. To Lao Tzu, problems go away by themselves, and it would be better if we will interfere less with caution with what's happening around us. To him, the ideal society is one that accepts what fate serves. We are a longing species, desperately wanting to live our lives to the fullest, making us greedy, insecure, and envious. According to Lao Tzu, moderation in all is the cure for such. We will be able to learn to appreciate what we have if we stop looking for the things that we don't possess. By doing this, we will realize that we don't need much at all. Lao Tzu presents a descent in 4 steps from Tao. If Tao is lost, we only have virtue to guide our steps. If virtue is lost, we should try to behave benevolently, thereby causing the least damage possible in our confusion. If benevolence is lost, we turn to righteousness. When even righteousness is lost, what remain are rituals. When rituals rule, force is always used to uphold them. Since the nature is ruled by Tao, everything should be done in moderation. No impulsive action or exaggeration is required. Through harmonizing with the way, we can be able to attain a true peace of mind, which is one of humility and stillness. In contrast, those people who fail to do so will only hurt themselves without finding comfort in the rewards they think they may achieve. As stated by Lao Tzu, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In the practice of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less do you need to force things, until finally you arrive at non-action. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. Let things come and go. Have without possessing, act without expecting. Problems will be no problem for you. Living a life simply is the key to contentment. At the same time, when you live in moderation, there will not be much room for ruling in a Taoism manner. However, rulers exist and are needed, but a ruler should be hesitant and discreet enough to be all but invisible. According to Tao, a ruler in accordance with Tao will do a lot of good, unnoticed, as if things took care of themselves. Any ruler needs to be just, no matter how difficult that may be at times. That includes a parent settling an argument between the children, as well as an emperor deciding the fate of his captured enemy. Ruling is an act of responsibility, never to be taken lightly. The most extreme expression of ruling power is war. To Tzu, war is the opposite principle of Tao. He described it as a failure to comply with the way. War brings its own rhetoric. The enemy is said to be evil, so the war is just, no matter what the cost. Hatred arises in the pain and the fury, and it doesn't stop when the war does. To him, those who advise the ruler on the way do not want the world subdued with weapons. Lao Tzu points at a fundamental flaw in our attitude. We quickly forget the horrors of war when they are absent, because we confuse the joy we felt at the end with the triumph of victory. Conversely, people often have great difficulties suffering the demands of the rulers, and the rulers can have great problems making people obey their commands. To Tzu, the rulers are to be blamed because of their responsibility and the power to make changes that common people don't have. Living according to Tao, we learn to trust that it will reveal the true workings of the world and everything in it. By leaning back and opening ourselves to it, we watch Tao unfold in front of us, revealing itself from behind everything that happens. In Tzu's mind, only people can at all deviate from Tao. Neither plants nor animals nor any other things in our universe can. Knowledge without true understanding is blind. If we follow the blind, we are sure to leave the way. Tao is to benefit and not to harm. Therefore, we know that what doesn't benefit us is not according to Tao, and it will probably harm us. A simple rule we learn from the book that Tao has a ton of virtues. It's humble, non-judgmental, generous, flexible, modest, and peaceful. Those planted in and embracing the Tao cannot be moved. They are genuine. Their families flourish. Their country is an example for others, and the universe sings. One can be oneself only by living the Tao. When one opens oneself to the Tao and embodies it completely, one sees everything fall into place. The Tao works but claims nothing, nourishes but does not hold on, merges with all things, and hides humbly. It's not easy to follow Tao, the way, but the result is certainly worth the effort.